Okay, I think that's everything. Alright. Hello, peoples. I'm gonna play the Nuzlocke for a little while just to get some grinding in. I'm sick right now. I've had a runny nose for about a week. But like, last few days I just kind of got a sore throat and now I'm sounding more on the ill side. I've just been, fatigued. So, not been doing a whole lot besides like laying around, blowing my nose and crocheting, so I wanted to stream something. I also didn't want to just sound like a sick invalid the whole time, so I'm going to grind for a little bit because that's something that doesn't require me to talk too much. I might still, depending on if people are chatting. Obviously chat with me, I'll chat back at you, but otherwise it's probably just going to be listen to the ambient noises of Pokemon battling. So we'll stream today. I might just go for an hour, maybe two. My goal right now is just to get my team levels up a little higher so I can go fight Clay. Fortunately, in my last recording, I lost my grass type through just stupid circumstances. Oddly enough, it was actually trying to catch the Vanillite I have in my team right now. Mr. Misty here. Named that after my mom. She used to work at Dairy Queen, and that's like her favorite thing. I like the drinks. So, as I have no fast forward feature on this thing because I'm pretty sure it would crash my computer entirely, I'm just going to go gain experience the old-fashioned way, which is you run around, you do encounters, however long or short that takes. Right now, I believe we're trying to get Mr. Misty up to, where is he right now? Level 30 would be nice. I would like everything in my team to have level 30 going in if I could. I did just get Celestia to level 30 earlier. So now we're gonna try and get Mr. Misty up there too. Emmett and Hamilton are doing pretty well. They're kind of holding the team together right now with their... Emmett just kind of is acrobaticsing everything to death, so he's definitely good in a pinch. But, and then Hamilton, obviously, MVP here. I'm serious, I will go and get, I never liked Pignite, but I will actually go and get a Pignite, sitting cutie plush. To just go and, put on my thing, just in honor of him, coming in so clutch in the battle against Elisa. Honestly, he's been pretty good for the run so far in general. Obviously he has his issues, and that's more than the fact that I don't have a balanced team, so I have a serious issue with water types right now. Would love to, would love on one of these counters to find, a Blitzle or something. I'm hoping for some sort of electric type in Chargestone Cave, or even a Clink, because they're steel types, so they still know electric type moves, so... Here's to hoping for a good encounter when we get there, but Chargestone Cave is after this area, if I remember correctly, so... Not like it's going to help us much for a ground gem anyway, but... We're just gonna... do some grinding. Maybe some chatting if anyone has anything that they want to do. I'm on Streamlabs again, so my layout is a little weird. I have some stuff I want to show you guys, but you can't really see because I'm using my laptop's camera. So that'll have to be for a crochet stream going up in the future. I will say, I see my notifications from my Twitch thing that someone called Dorothy Blackheart followed 2 days ago. And I have to say, that is a great username. Just saying. Don't know who she is? That's great. Or he is. Could be anyone, honestly. Great username. Mine's usually Dusk Lugia and everything I can find it on. If not, it's Dusk something. My Instagram account is Dusk Crochets, So we're just gonna sit here, relax, do a little grinding. While I sip my tea. Did take some help with digestion. I actually, earlier today, I don't know, well, if any of you out there, you know, if you follow any of the viewers here or lurkers who might be here, I might say I probably should send out my message for today. It's interesting because I know I have a couple of like family members and like cousins in Erie who like followed my stream. I don't know if they ever watch it though because I don't know how the notification works for Twitch and YouTube. I was talking to that when we were watching church this morning, and I was talking to my mom about that and being like, I don't actually know if they send out notifications because she was talking about we were trying to find our church service. It was raining, pouring. We're all kind of tired. It's been an exhausting week for like no reason besides it just was. And like I even canceled my D&D on Saturday, which was a really hard thing for me to do because we have so many big gaps between our D&D sessions. I mean, we're all adults. You know, me and my sister are preschool teachers. I'm trying to do a grad class right now, which I am so far excited for, you know. But just you get busy, we nanny, you know. So just you get. My dad typed IK, which I assume means I know, or he misspelled okay. It's hard to tell with your parents because you know that could be something that's like, you know, an abbreviation or like a shorthand thing, or it could be just he didn't type it correctly. Our dad trying to be like, hey, I'm dyslexic too today, and we're just like, very funny, Dad. And they both have Intimidate? Are you kidding me? Ideally, I would want to switch out, but I also don't want anyone to die, and these things I know have crunch, so we're just trying to brute force the heck out of it. I always forget he has Heat Crash as a move, so I forget to use it. But anyway, so we were trying to find like our so it was rainy, it was gross today, we didn't want to go out. Yeah, I'd rather you hit Hamilton than you hit Emmett. So we didn't go out to church this morning. Normally we do. I do it just to get out of the house because I stay home a lot, which is, by the way, it's not like a bad thing. I like being at home a lot, but we didn't go out. So we were trying to find our live stream thing, and my mom's asking me, like, you know, if I follow the channel, will it give me a notification and this person goes live? I'm like, I don't know. Because I don't follow channels that go live. Although, I think, like, I remember hearing someone who, like, watches my streams, like, saying they followed my channel, which, you know, my channel's the same as this one. It's Cozy Gamers. On YouTube. Same little dragon icon. I should give him a name or something. I mean, the obvious thing would be, like, Cozy or something like that, but... Or CG or something like that. But I should give my little guy a name one of these days. Anyway, but, they told me that they weren't getting notifications when I went live. Okay, that could have definitely knocked him out. A little annoying. But, yeah, it's fine. Anyway, but, I don't know if they send notifications. Like, if you follow a Twitch channel, do they give you, like, a notification that says, hey, this person is live right now, or do you need to be, like, on Twitch in order for that to happen? See, I'm streaming on these channels, but I myself don't watch a lot of live streaming, just because, again, crazy schedule, I just don't have time to. That's why I don't have, like, you know, every first thing they tell you when you're trying to be, like, a streamer and grow an audience is, like, be there consistently, like, you know, Wednesday 4 to 6 every week. But, like, I just can't do that right now, bro. I try my best to do it on Tuesdays, because I schedule myself for Tuesdays, but I honestly might even move that to Wednesday right now. Because even that sometimes is hard to maintain. So we get busy. You know, which is fine. You know, it's all to get, you know, for a paycheck, so it's not like it's just random, but it is a little tiring. But the whole point being essentially, so I don't know if when people follow me, if they're able to tell when I go live. I have a Discord channel that, again, is supposed to be for anyone who's in my community. I don't know how to spread the information about it. Like, I don't know how to be like, hey, people who follow me, if you want to know more about my life, here's my channel, you know? Although, to be entirely honest, the Discord channel, like, I do... See, this is the funny thing about being someone who's autistic and also trying to do social media. Like, I literally trained in this for years at college. I know how to do social media. I know how to, like, make graphic design and audio stuff and everything like that. But, I'm also just, like, not good at social stuff in general, because I'm a bit too literal-minded with those sort of things, so I can't put, like, off... My littlest sister is the best when it comes to, like, social media stuff. Like, she was telling us yesterday about how, like, she has, like, 4 different Instagram accounts based on different vibes. Sorry if you can hear me blowing my nose. But I'm like, that's just... I can't even think about... Oh. They use it on court. Alright. Sucks for you then, my dude. But, I can't even imagine doing that. Like, you know, being that organized to just be like, oh, all my things only go here. Like, I have, like, 60 different playlists on YouTube for, like, things based on themes, and each of them have, like, 60 to 900 videos, and I'm just like, I think I'm just a hoarder when it comes to, like, collecting anything, and that includes information and videos and stuff. But, like, my sister's got a much better, well, both my sisters, but especially my littlest sister, but, like, for knack for social posts, for knowing, like, how to do something that grabs people's attention. Like, I can read and rank and tell you why something does or doesn't, like, work as, like, an ad or something. But, like, doing it myself is very different. And this, I think, is also kind of, like, a bit of an autistic thing, too, is that, like, and maybe even an ADHD thing, too, or maybe it's just a me thing. You never know. But, like, the idea of, like, being able to evaluate something, like, is more like when you try and mimic something, and you'll try and, like, look at it and do it yourself, as opposed to just doing it. I need to go back and heal Hamilton again. I also feel like I got, like, this tickle in the back of my throat. Or, like, when you maybe, like, get a popcorn kernel or something that... I didn't eat popcorn, but, like, something that's in the back of your throat that you're, like, trying to wash down, and it's just not quite doing it, so it makes you feel, like, kind of gross. Like you want to gag or something. I literally passed through one patch of grass, and that's where I get the encounter. Stupid thing. I wonder if Celestia could kill this guy. She's a psychic. I've never used Gothita either. I've never been really drawn to it as a species. Because, you know, the version, the one I like, that's the version exclusive, is Solosis that evolves into Reuniclus, which is one I definitely have used before. Because me and Melanie actually got mixed up. I like Reshiram more, But we got the versions mixed up, so, like, I originally played white, thinking that was where Reshiram is. That's actually where Zekrom is. My first playthrough was actually in white. So that's where I got, like, Uniclus. Because, like, I like the version exclusives in white better than I like the version exclusives in black. I just wasn't aware of them. Like, oh, if I wanted Reshiram, I had to do the other one. Sorry if my thing chugs a little bit. And obviously, you know, if there's something wrong with the audio, someone in the chat mentioned it, I can't tell otherwise. That's another thing, like, if I was doing this correctly, I think that, like, you know, most streamers have, like, you plug in your headphones so you can hear what the audio sounds like to everyone else. And I just, like, don't do that. I'll have to do it again, though, when I do that Star Rail reaction. I would have done that this weekend. I really wanted to do that this week. Just like I wanted to play D&D this weekend. I also wanted to do my Star Rail trailer react compilation thing. Which, again, I think is just more going to be a guilty pleasure thing for me than anything else. I don't expect anyone to watch through that many videos with me, but I don't know. It's just something that I want to do for me. And sometimes when all else fails and you're tired and, you know, you feel either isolated or in a vacuum, sometimes you just gotta do stuff for you because, you know, that's the best. That's then at least you're pleasing one person. At least you're pleasing yourself, and you're the person who has to live with yourself. So you might as well try and be kind. So I say as I keep trying to, like, do stuff like that. It's always, you have to imagine, like, I would say this to someone else. Talking's really irritating this tickle in my throat, though. But also, that's kind of how I rule. I kind of can just ramble for a while. It's what makes me, I mentioned on one of my discussion boards, makes me pretty good at brainstorming, is that, like, I can come up with a lot of different, like, potential options, solutions, brainstorming sort of stuff, because I'm a very divergent thinker. I think of possibilities. Although then the problem is then acting on one of those possibilities. Because that's the thing I'm struggling on, like, I have this like, thing I have to do coming up soon, which is we're gonna, like, for the course, we're gonna essentially try and grow our writing abilities. So, the idea is gonna be, like, writing a short story or a chapter of a novel. I can imagine, though, writing a chapter of a novel because, like, most novels I read don't have terribly long chapters. Maybe, like, or more like the chapter length can vary from, like, 10 to 20 pages, which I guess, technically speaking, is a lot, but, like, for me, novel, like, chapters, like, when I write, I split chapters apart based on either moments of, like, high emotion, or this thing's now 20 pages, I need to split this in half somewhere. I usually split chapters apart, purely based on, length. I can't go in and be like, oh, here, I'm gonna, like, the assignment says, like, oh, you can go work on chapter 5. I'm like, you know, some people must have greater skills than me when it comes to organization. I couldn't imagine where, like, a particular numbered chapter of a book, oh my gosh, I walked 1 foot forward into an encounter. It's not bad, but I want to get over to the other darker grass, because that's where I can potentially get 2 encounters, which will give me XP faster. Not to mention they're higher level. Things in this area are level 20. Things in the other area are level 24 and 25, so I can get experience better over there than these ones. These are fine. I mean, experience is experience, but why is it whenever you're trying to run through the grass and, like, get somewhere quickly is when you're going to run into an encounter every step, and then when you're actually looking for an encounter, you can run through the whole dang thing. You won't run into a single person. Alright. At least Hamilton and Edmund are getting some experience while I'm trying to train up Mr. Misty here. This is something I was talking to my sister about the other day. The evolution, like, levels for Black and White are very high. Like, there's not really any Pokemon that evolve early. Like, most, like, even the starters, I think, evolve at, like, 16 and 18 and 20 and something like that. Like, they're all pretty high. That was, the sister cameo, knock it off your bingo cards. That's the one I said that was really great at social media. They look the same now because they have the same haircut and they just want to confuse me. There's nothing better than walking into your kitchen and you have to, like, look at the back of your sister's head and stare at them really intensely and be like, yep, I still don't know which one that is. And you have to go around to the front and be like, alright, I know which one you are now. I figured it out. I want to actually switch Celestia in to deal with the Timber, because they're the ones that do the most to Hamilton anyway, so I'm going to switch those around. After all, it doesn't really matter the whole lot. The EXP is still going to Mr. Misty anyway. Look at her little butt. Oh. Anyway, so what was I talking about? On my assignment I'm working on. So, how many times, seriously, what is it about me with Timbers where they survive by, like, the slimmest slivers of HP? It's a good thing she's not, like, you know. I do think, if I remember correctly, that, the Gothita line and the Solosis line both are pretty bulky. All things considered. I mean, granted, she has a horrible nature, so, you know, that's my special attack, which is... Oh, there's Madeline. Poop fart. My first message got auto-blocked by RoboMods. What were you saying in your first message? It got blocked by mods. I didn't even know my chat had mod featuring in the first place. You say pee-pee or something like that? I don't know why the mods would block you otherwise. You got blocked again? Here, try fart. You tried to put fart butt together and it didn't let you type that? That's so weird. Maybe when you put them together, then in the mods notice the association between the two of them. Only when you put them together do they realize you're saying fart from a butt, as opposed to before that you can be like, oh, these are just two random words. AI is interesting. That's why when people are like, AI is going to take things over. I'm like, no. AI is only as smart as people program that to be, and people on their own aren't very smart. And even then, there's so many bugs. I mean, spell check has existed, like, since word processor started, and it's still not very good. Like... It only gets blocked when I put it together. That's really weird. It's like, you can't say fart butt, but you can say fart and you can say butt. And it also let you put poop fart too. I think that's arguably worse. I don't know. That's, again, that's why, like, AI stuff I think is weird. Now, the one AI thing that I do think is something to be concerned on is AI voice acting. That doesn't seem right. Especially if it's an AI, like, voice that is meant to mimic a actual person's voice. Like, it's, you know, like, for instance, like, you have, like, the Vocaloids, like, the ones we talked before, like, when I play Miku and stuff like that, which are a voice bank of particular artists that are then able to be tuned like an instrument to make songs. Those are sold as a product. However, the whole idea is it's not actually selling that person, it's selling actually the character with the different voice banks, you know? Which is funny, for how much, you know, popularity, like, Hatsune Miku has, the fact that when you look down at it, there's actually, like, no set canon, if you will, about the characters. They're all open source. They're like, hey, you do whatever you want with these characters. And that, of course, is as weird as it is sometimes, because they do some weird things with the younger ones, but... Of course, there's even the ones that are, like, you know, Miku's, like, supposed to be 16, I believe. Some people, though, make her look like she's 12, and sometimes people... And I don't mind they age her up, but it's when they age her down for some songs. That part stank. You gassing yourself out, Madeline? Or are the puppies still doing it around you? Because, let me tell you, dog farts are the worst. Like, considering how little they actually eat, you know, like... It's amazing how intense dog farts can be. But no, Madeline gassed herself. You're like a poison type that like isn't immune to poisoning. But anyway, so my discussion thing I'm trying to do is like I have this assignment where I have to figure out like a chapter or story I want to do, which are like, you know, they're like ideally you want to start with a brand new idea, or at least something that you want to heavily change. So I'm trying to think of something that I could do myself that I'll actually be passionate enough to work on. Like when I was in college, I had to do like some original short stories, or I would like make, when I was not even for college, just for writing club, I would make like some stories based off a prompt, because they would have like story based off a quote, story based off a picture. Half the time I would make a story and then look for a picture to go with the story and then say that it worked the other way around. But like, there are some stories I wrote that like are things I could revise, but there are also ones that I'm like, this was me trying, it's like, they were almost stories that were like masking stories. And what I mean by that is like, I brought up last time I was on stream masking, and like how like, I don't know why I was talking about, that's probably because I was talking about crocheting. I usually get introspective when I'm crocheting, because it's a good fidget for my hands, so it means my thoughts just kind of free flow whenever I'm doing it. It's also how I can pretty easily hold a conversation while I'm crocheting, as long as I'm not doing anything that's like, you know, fur yarn or something like that requires me to be a little more focused. But I'm talking about like masking, like how I, like looking back, I can definitely see how I would have done that a lot in middle school, where you try to suppress what you would do normally in the situation, or what might normally bring you enjoyment, or what you might like, or normally do in order to like get a certain reaction out of people, and you instead do what you see around you to try and fit in. Everyone does this to some extent, I think. It's just more a matter of when like you're doing it because of like some sort of like mental disorder. Until I was 25. Only until 25? You suddenly stopped? I say I still do it now a lot. Yeah, I agree. I also feel that, like, I don't do it as much now. It's more like, it's also, masking also depends on your how comfortable you are in your environment. Like, if you're in an environment where you're more comfortable yourself, then you won't mask as much. But also, you know, some of it was like, you know, finding a diagnosis and realizing and looking back and being like, oh, I was doing these things this whole time and I just never realized it. All the time to everyone, even you, until then. Now Neopets. And masking's not a bad thing, but like, everyone does it. Like, there's a whole, like, Carl Jung, I think, is the one who did the whole psyche, like, thing about, like, the idea of the shadow, the persona, the true self, you know. Literally all the psychology that, like, Persona, as a franchise, has turned into, like, its core lore. But, like, I mean, a lot of things do it, too. When we played Knights series, that one clearly is pulling from a lot of the Carl Jung, like, dream psychology stuff. There's some psychology things I would just love to study. And the reason why is because I've, like, you know, spent all my, like, literally all my life has been, like, watching and observing people and figuring out how to try and act as a person myself. Okay, so Mr. Misty's level 26. That's pretty cool. About halfway there. Icy Wind, Mist, Taunt, Avalanche. Mist. Its aim of stats from being cut. Taunt. See, Taunt's a funny move because it's a really great one competitively, but it's one you generally don't really want to use in a basic playthrough because, like, most Pokemon probably aren't going to use, like, you know, statusy moves on you anyway. And even then you have to be faster than them, and I don't think Vanillite is necessarily fast. No, it's the slowest thing I have. Mist prevents any stats from being cut. Thing is, that lasts for 5 turns. This only won't last for 3 turns. Forget taunt. Steel type move would be nice. Anyway, but, so, to make sure I don't lose my point of thought here I'm trying to work on. I am working up to something I'm trying to say here. But, I'm going to also save as long as we're here. But, so the whole idea is that, like, masking is something that everyone does. It's just, you know, because, you know, as a society, you know, as a species, being in the pack is safety. So being a part of the pack and outside is dangerous. You're going to be the one that's alone and eaten by the predators. So people like to associate in groups. It's just, like, masking is more of an inherent need when you have, like, any sort of, you know, like, you're faltering at all in any sort of, like, social standard thing, like social growth, anything like that, essentially. And, of course, we got 2 intimidates again. That's fine. Should be able to take one hit anyway. And neither of them used helping hands, so that's good. So, I talked all about, like, last stream, how, I came to realize I masked a lot in middle school, and it was largely just because, like, instead of talking about the things I want to talk about, you try and be part of the group. Or, like, my thing is, actually, what I do initially is I would go up to someone and just talk about what I wanted to talk about, and, you know, I try and share my topics and special interests as my way of trying to connect with people, and then that just turned back negative results so many times that I decided, well, clearly this strategy doesn't work. So I need to go and not do that. Maybe try and talk about what they're interested in. But when you're stuck in middle school and everyone's into Twilight, it's, you know, maybe it's just better to be alone. Rough time, let me tell you. Like, do people even know about, like, the Jacob versus Edward wars anymore? They shouldn't, because it was a stupid time, but does people even remember, like, that time? I don't even know. The YA era of, like, literature was a fascinating one. Not even a bad one, because I do think some of them are very interesting conceptually, or at the very least junk food sort of novels, you know, not good for you, but they're enjoyable. But, point being is that, like, you weren't into whatever big book series the rest of the girls were in, and you only have 6 girls in the grade, then, like, you feel out of place. You feel like you're missing something. So, I'm not going back into middle school trauma stuff dumping, though I did that last stream. Just go look at the recording if you really want to watch it. All our videos are on YouTube. But, I think I definitely writing mask a little bit. I definitely did that in middle school, and I definitely did that to some degree in college. Because before that, I would just write whatever I wanted to write. It was, like, my way of, like, coping. It was kind of my way of, like, learning and trying to... I always had ideas and stories in my head, so it was my way of just trying to record them and get them down so that I don't lose them. But, like, I didn't share my writing for a while. And even then, I didn't share it because it was a deeply personal sort of thing, you know? So it wasn't in, like... I did share, I think, my stories once with one person, I think, in middle school, and that took up so much courage. Not gonna risk that with the timber. I do not need another death to a timber. But, I would go and I wrote these stories. They were essentially about, like, the self-insert characters for, like, me and my sister, who are, like, these, you know, adventurous, like, you know, main heroes, stopping, like, galactic distortions and stuff like that. You know, just self-serving fiction, but, you know, that's the whole idea, is that it's, like, when you are having a really rough time, sometimes retreating to your story helps you cope, and that's definitely what it did for me for a while, is that, like, whenever... I understand it now, looking back on it with more knowledge and maturity. Like, this is the whole thing I wrote about in my post for my classes. I'm like, looking back on it, I didn't always understand the world. I felt like an outsider a lot of the time, so is it that surprising I went and wrote stories where, like, I was the one that was in control and in command of everything and knew all the answers and was a really cool hero and stuff like that. I don't think so. It's coping in its own way. So, but I didn't stare these stories because they felt so personal, like it was like letting someone else into my world. Always 2 times. Why does it always only hit 2 times? You think from 2 to 5 times it has a chance of hitting. You think 3 would be like more reasonable. Be like it hits 3 times most of the time, but most of the time I guess get 2 hits. Anyway, but so it was a very personal thing to do it, and also I had a lot of insecurity as a writer because I did write just for my own personal benefit, like my own coping mechanism. Meanwhile, I'm surrounded by, like, you know, a handful of other girls who I felt were just more skilled writers, and more importantly, they wrote about what I considered normal things. Like, I remember this one girl, she wrote a story and everyone was, like, thought it was really good, and so, like, my teacher had her read it to the class, which I always think is, like, a kind of a double-edged sword, honestly, as a teacher, because, you know, on one hand, it's like, you know, it's oh, you need to share this because this is really good, but on the other hand, doesn't that make kind of the other people, like, a lot of kids probably won't care, but want to make, like, the people who, like, did try on their stories, but you didn't ask them to read it to the class, feel, like, a little left out and be like, oh, why was my story that good? I remember my grammar teacher, again, in hindsight, I realized she helped. That's fine. Feel free to lurk, Ixie. It's great to, even if you just chat once per stream, I'm always glad to know that you popped in. You're like our only one from the original crew of the original channel. Yes, email and society to see you too. I catch him. Yeah, I'll probably be here. I'm grinding. And, then I'll probably fight the gym later. Wow, Mencino really gives, like, no EXP. But, so we get another Mencino, of course, why not? Anyway, but, they have, they would write about normal things. I remember my grammar teacher, who, granted, in hindsight, I do think really well prepared me for essentially becoming a writer later on in life. But, like, I remember the moment when I wouldn't share these things, like, I remember her, at the moment I took it as positive, but now in hindsight I realized it probably wasn't the best thing, like, she's saying, like, you have quite an imagination. And I'm like, you know, I think the way she said it wasn't meant to be a compliment. But, like, I knew that everyone who, like, read my stories just could not understand them, really. I remember I actually wrote a story about it that shows you how problematic it was, but everyone else who read stories, they had, like, she had 3 people, and would read their stories. And I read mine, and so this other girl wrote hers, and she was one of those people who was, like, definitely, like, artist kid sort of thing, but not like artist, as in, like, you know, scatterbrained, wants to make things, artist as in seeking to become artist, if that makes sense. Like, the person who's going to try and write the very, you know, proper sounding stories, who has, like, the picture of an apple that looks really good, or, you know, arty stuff, you know? And so, she had her story, which sounded very, like, normal, I remember at the time. It was about, like, the main character found a kitten, and that was, like, you know, and then there was this whole bond about her growing with a kitten, and then she loses the kitten, and it fights off, like, some foxes or something, and then it's near death at the end, and she nurses back to health. It's, you know, very normal sounding stuff. And a lot of other people wrote stories of that same nature, of, like, normal people finding things like cats in the woods, or normal people having, like, relationship stuff going on. And meanwhile, I'm over here writing essentially, proto-fanfiction. I didn't really know what fanfiction was yet at that age, but that was definitely what I was writing, where I'm writing my character interacting with the other character, and I got magic, and I got creatures, and I got dragons, and honestly a pretty nonsensical plot, but I wasn't really doing for a plot again at the time. I was doing it more as, like, a escapism exercise, and I just remember feeling so weird, like, after like listening to the other two girls who are like the good writers in my class read their stories and thinking about how normal and how set in reality they were, I felt kind of embarrassed sharing mine afterwards, because I was proud of it at the time. It was something that brought me a lot of comfort, so I did really enjoy the world I had. But I just felt so out of place. I felt like I don't want to share this anymore. This is something really important and vulnerable to me, and no one's going to get it. And lo and behold, one of the guys in my class, who granted I do think has some sort of, mental something going on, kind of spoke out and said that I don't remember if he says like it was stupid or it wasn't realistic, or like it was just some off the cuff kind of mean comment. And I obviously took that pretty badly. I remember I even wrote a story about it, because like I remember writing a story about it later about how like that happened. I felt even more embarrassed about sharing my story, and the teacher hadn't said anything to like reprimand him. So like I felt like doubly like kind of thrown out to the curb. And I wrote a story about it later when I have to talk about an impactful moment in my life. Which again wasn't probably the best idea at the time. I was literally just doing it as kind of the exercise, and then afterwards she's like, "Oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't mean to make you feel bad." I'm like, "Oh, I wasn't writing this to guilt you or something. You chose the emotional moment that happened at school, and that was the closest one in memory." Again, me not reading any sort of social cues, I guess. I just literally was like, bad things happen, and then like I move on from them, and I turn them into stories later on. But then like when you go back and realize, oh yeah, there were emotions attached to that, and other people attached to those emotions. So like I view things like stories. I don't actually like expect people to go and fix them somehow. It's just like I bring them up because I like to discuss them, Same reason I often talk about like my one, even though I've had lots of bad experiences playing D&D before. The one I bring up most consistently is when I was in my Netherdeep campaign, and even then, I would say for at least half of the campaign, I did genuinely enjoy myself a whole lot. Sorry, my fan's going a little crazy, so I'm holding it up so I can get a moment to cool my computer down a little bit. I'm wearing a lap blanket, so my lap isn't cold. I'll just give my thing a moment to catch up with my fan. Hey, Emmett and Hamilton are doing pretty good, though. My boys. I will say, though, if Hamilton, is ever not with us, and I do manage to get a Litwick, I will probably name it Hamilton in honor of him. Just to have a fire type. Although, honestly, if I do find a Litwick, and it's a male, I'm probably going to name it Ingo, so. Assuming Emmett's still here by then. But he's doing a good job. In spite of his negative attack nature. I like every Pokemon in my team, except for Hamilton, has a nature that's in the attacking stat they want. So my special attackers are both have a negative special attack nature, and then Emmett has a negative attack nature, and I'm just like, really? You couldn't have had negative defenses? No one... Honestly, a negative defensive nature is usually fine for almost any Pokemon except for something that's supposed to be defensive. I wish there aren't a ton. Or even a negative speed nature is kind of fine, depending on what it is. Like Aeolia, when, she was still with us, she had a negative speed nature, and that wasn't helpful because she was supposed to be fast. But, so, obviously not a great thing for her, but, she had plus special attack nature. I'm like, you don't need a special attack. But anyway, so, gonna get myself distracted again. So point being is that, like, I shared my stories once, kind of felt like an idiot about it, then I went and, like, I worked on my writing skills, I tried to refine them, try to get maybe a little bit better, a little bit less, like, the biggest thing was getting away from first person. I think that's what a lot of, like, early writers do to try and, like, really immerse yourself in the world is first person. First person can be hard to pull off properly, though. As I've, like, grown as a writer, I've come to realize it's really good when you're trying to do, again, those sort of self-insert fanfictions. But I'm like, realistically, telling a story can be tricky from first person. Same thing with second person. I've seen some people try and do second person. It's a very selective perspective style. And I think you have to really have, like, a particular goal with it. Why are you using second person? Because now I mostly write in third person. But I'm like, first person, or at least third person limited. Let me put it that way. So, I mean, you're still taking the perspective of a character, but oops, pressed A too many times. You're still taking the perspective of a character, but you're not necessarily doing it I and stuff like that. And sometimes you do third person omniscient. I'm also much more aware when I used to write that. I have a tendency to like perspective swap when I'm doing third person limited. And even now when I read like fan fiction sometimes I can notice when other people do that, and I'm like, I remember I used to get annoyed people mentioning that in my stories, but now I read like stories myself, like when I'm reading fan fiction. I know someone's like switching viewpoints in their third person limited. I'm like, yeah, I can acknowledge that is a little hard to follow. The biggest thing is that, like, I think people don't, like, learn anymore is, like, you know, when you switch, when you're using pronouns, if you're using, like, two characters that have the same gendered pronouns, you need to use their name in between so you know who's talking. I've read, like, a lot of things recently that are, like, you know, multiple male characters in a scene. And you can say he thought, he said, so on and so forth. But if you're having a conversation or an interaction between two different he's, you have to go and, like, say some sort of indicator of who's talking. Like, the biggest one is, like, you know, I'm reading some stuff for, Star Rail. So I'm reading some stuff with, like, Dr. Acer and Venturine. I really like them as a duo. But, like, you don't necessarily have to say their name every single time. But you need to give an indicator of who's talking. So you either say the hair color of the person, you say something either, like, cheerfully or more scowly. That usually gives you an indicator of who's talking. Or, like, you know, and Venturine only ever calls him Doctor, Ratio only ever calls him Gambler, so you can say that as well to give an indication of who's talking. But when you don't give some sort of like actual noun in order to say like which he you're referring to, it can get really confusing really fast, especially if you're in two characters that are having an argument. Because then, like, you know, usually you're gonna assume like, okay, each paragraph break it's switching to a new speaker. But even then, there are some writers who don't do the whole, like, you're supposed to switch paragraphs whenever you switch to a new speaker. Like, and they won't do that, and then you'll be like, who's talking now? That was just a very impactful line they just said. But which one of them said that? Or they'll be like, he thought about this, or he's feeling really insecure, or something like that. And you'll be like, I think they're talking about this character, but then again, the last he they referred to was the other guy. And he doesn't seem like someone who'd be insecure in this scene, so I'm assuming they might be talking about the first guy, but, you know, pronoun usage, it's just a simple thing that, like, I'm not saying that everyone needs to be a grammar Nazi like I am, where they're, like, going crazy on, like, making sure the commas are in the right places, making sure you're using things in the right context, making sure, you know, you put the adjectives next to the thing they're describing as opposed to further down the sentence. But, like, I think that grammar skills have definitely kind of fallen to the side somewhat, because it makes things a little harder to read. Anyway, I'm getting distracted again. So, when I write stories, sharing them was kind of a very vulnerable experience, and I didn't get a lot of great feedback in middle school, which, to be fair, it's middle school. You know, and honestly, even in that school, I just don't think I had anyone who really kind of understood me. Or at least, I wouldn't say, like, to be fair, understanding someone is a difficult thing. I think it's more important to understand someone's intentions, maybe. So, like, I, like, always tried to really emphasize to people when I was sharing something with them that it was a really big deal. And it was a really big thing of vulnerability for me to give it to them. And then they would let it sit on their desk and be like, oh, I'll read it later. And I'd be like, I just, like, literally said that this was really important to me. And you're not doing it now? And granted, it could be one of those things where, like, they thought it was fine, where it's, like, a casual thing. We're like, oh, we'll read it. I just don't have, I'm busy right now, and I can't do that. But, like, I don't know. People are hard to read sometimes, and I just took that as being like, oh, so you don't really want to do that. And they're like, why are you taking this so personally? I'm like, because I just said it's important to me, and you're saying later. You know? It is complicated anyway. So, I just didn't get a lot of great feedback when it came back to, my stories. So, I went back into a phase of, like, not sharing them at all. So I shared them a little bit in middle school. Bad reactions to them. Either people thought they were weird, thought they were poorly written, or they couldn't understand what was going on. Which, to be fair, they weren't great stories. I acknowledge that looking back on them. But at the same time, when you're already feeling kind of isolated and this thing's, like, really important to you, you know, constructive feedback is helpful instead of just, I'm confused. And they're like, where do I even begin to explain? I do that a lot because I want to focus on it, and most of the time I'm in the middle of a task. That's why I selectively share things with you, Madeline, like, once a month. And it'll be like, I have a list of things I like have been wanting to show you for like 3 months. But I'll be like, okay, which one is the one that I really want to show her because I might not get this opportunity for another 3 months. So I'll go in and be like, here's the thing I most want you to do right now. Assurance is a dark type move. Does 50 damage. It's a dark. Dark is good against psychic, so it would be good for that. Flame charge and heat crash. Let me check Pig Knight's levels on level up things real fast. Let me see if he's gonna learn anything else interesting. Last time I didn't do this, I regretted it, so let me just look up real fast. Okay, black and white. Sharon's, let's see, he'll learn Head Smash, Flamethrower, and Flare Blitz. Head Smash obviously will replace Rollout at some point. Assurance would be good if I have to face a Psychic type. I do have Flame Charge on a TM, so I could do that. If I want to relearn it later, I could always relearn it. I'm waiting to get a better fighting type move, honestly. We'll forget Flame Charge for now. I think I can get that on a TM. Well, he at least has a dark move. Be nice for psychic types if I absolutely needed one. It's usually better just to go stab, but you never know. Alright. Oh! Hamilton's evolving! Cool! Good job, bro. Cool, so he'll be fully evolved for the gym. That'll be nice. Should give him a better leg up. Yay, Hamilton made it all the way to his final evolution and before dying. He might die now, but, you know, at least he made it to the final stage. Even if he dies after this, then at least he made it to the final stage. Good job. Look at my little boy. He used to be just a little thing of bacon. And now he's all grown. Good job, bro. Still need to get you a better fighting move, but now you have really big attack. Good job, bro. Again, I'm not terribly a big fan of any of, honestly, the 3 starters in Unova, like their final forms. Their first forms, I think, are very cute. I love all 3 of the first forms. I actually even really like the second forms of a lot of them. But, like, I'm not a huge fan of their final forms, but I'm like, Emboar at least looks cool when it still has the sprite art, you know, flaming beard. Looks cooler in the sprite art. When it goes into the regular art, like the 3D models, it's less impressive, but I'm like, in the sprite art, it looks pretty cool. So he lived long enough to evolve all the way. Good job, bro. So we're gonna switch for Emmett right now and let him get some more levels. We're almost there with Mr. Missy, too. He's level 27. Goal is level 30, and then we're going to head into the gym. But now that Hamilton's evolved, that'll be nice, because Hamilton could take on Clay's Excadrill, because it's a steel type. So I can hit it for a fire weakness there. Don't know about if I'm going to be able to do that with his other ground types. Those are probably going to have to be down to someone else, but I mean, if he has any of the evolution lines of Sandile, then I probably could go for the fighting type weakness on that. But I think he has a Palpitoad too, which is going to be trouble. Look at my big boy. He's so strong now. You made it through your awkward teenage stage and you live now. Now his heat crash is really going to do damage because he's like twice as heavy. I don't think heat crash is a signature move for in this generation. It might be. I always assumed it was a signature move for Embor. I don't think it actually is though. But I always thought it was. The funny thing is he's like barely faster than like Emmett right now. Even though Emmett will ultimately be much faster than him when we, finish this up. So anyway, back to my original story, which I'm never going to get to the end of. So in middle school, I did a lot of, like, I would say writing masking because of those early experiences. Because, like, I guess I lost a lot of confidence in my writing from those experiences. So, like, in high school, I still continue writing, obviously. But I was too intimidated to take the creative writing class. I wanted to. But I never did because I was kind of intimidated by the creative writing teacher. He sounded really harsh. And I, who was incredibly insecure as a writer, thought that that was, like, the worst idea ever was to do a writing course where, like, I'll have no, like, I'll just get harshly commented on and criticized and stuff. Probably my sister took the class, and it probably was fine. But, like, I was just too scared to do it. I took, like, literally every other writing course. And I actually only considered pursuing writing because I was writing, a lot of, like, small things of my own. Sometimes it was just, like, little poetry bits that were just me trying to deal with my feelings. Sometimes I was writing stories for this big, like, narrative I had in my head. This, like, self-insert narrative I had in my head. But it wasn't until, like, my final year of high school when, it was, like, for, like, a test or something, and I was just writing things, because the test was over and I had some ideas in my head. And I shared it with my teacher, and she's like, wow, this is actually really good. Like, and then, we had a little talk, and she's like, because, it was the end of the semester, she's like, you are a really good writer. You should consider pursuing this in college, you can really do something out of it. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. But, like, I didn't think too much of it. And then, like, in another class I got, like, a similar comment from another teacher. I think it was an article writing class or something. Or maybe it was stories or just writing about, like, personal experiences. Or something. But, he also gave me the thing, like, you should continue studying this more in college. You're a good writer. And so, eventually I did. Originally, the idea was to do, like, a writing minor. And, like, I originally went in for game design. And then, like, in college was when I started writing more stories and, like, trying to share them. And, like, learn more. But, I went and, joined a writing club in college. Which was literally, like, what you would almost imagine a poetry club being. It was, like, 7 people. There wasn't any real rhyme or reason. It was just bring in your stories, read them to the group, and get some feedback. Every so often, like, the president would be like, okay, let's try and do a prompt. Based on a picture this week, based on a quote, something to just get people, like, involved in. But I did enjoy it because it did make me kind of, like, try to write different things. And try and push my writing in a different direction. But even then, the stories I shared with other people were still kind of masking stories. Because, again, I had that kind of fear of, like, everyone else is writing about such normal things. Like, everyday things. Again, pets, finding, something in, like, the 1800s, just romances or whatever. One person wrote about his faith journey in kind of a song-fic sort of way. He wasn't the most experienced writer, but he had a lot of heart. I'll give him that. He also shared my birthday, which was funny. There were 3 people that shared my birthday that I was friends with. Yeah, no one wrote gothic horror. That would be something I would write. No one wrote gothic horror, but they just wrote some very normal sounding stuff. So of course I've tried to write that too. So like I have one story that's called Sophie's Dog. That's about this little girl who wants a dog. She finds a dragon in the forest, thinks it's a dog, and takes it home with her. Because, I can't write totally normal stories. I always have to have some sort of mythic something in it. Like, not that normal life isn't mundane, but it's more like what I qualify for normal is like my life's never been normal, so writing about what I consider normal is boring to me. Yeah. I always gotta put dragons in my stories somehow. Oh, let's see who can do it. So, like, I had that story. I had the story called The Salamander, which again was a very similar thing, which was the idea of, like, all my stories had dragons in them somehow. But it was about this, again, girl who finds it was kind of based off of when I was younger and I went to my grandpa's camp. I would always find these little salamanders. And I remember the first one I found, I named Spot. And then, like, found another one next year. I'm like, oh, he came to visit me. It was definitely not the same salamander. But my parents played along with it. And they're like, oh, yeah, he came back to see you. And I always went and looked for, like, these, like, little black salamanders that had, like, orange spots. So it was kind of based, that story kind of was born from that, where this, like, girl finds, like, this, like, fat black salamander, that she takes in and feeds, and he, keeps getting bigger and bigger sort of story. And, it's based on the fact that, like, salamanders, are also a mythical creature that are like these fire spirits. If anyone's ever seen like the little fire lizard they have in Frozen 2, that's essentially what a salamander is. They typically have 6 legs, look like your standard salamander otherwise, but they can like spit fire, bring fire to life, like they're fire spirits that take on a somewhat animal form. And so it was kind of based on that, where the idea of this, like, this salamander named Spot eventually grows into a dragon. Or at least is, like, on the way to becoming, like, when she has to, like, stop keeping the pet because he goes from, like, being, like, yay big to, like, 4 feet long, and she has to leave him at her camp, and then she comes back next year and is a full-grown dragon, because, I always had to write something about dragons. Or, like, the other one I wrote was, Ashes to Ashes, I believe, was the name of it. Nothing to relate with the song, because I didn't actually know that song yet, but funny that I'm drawn to that name, apparently. But that one was about, again, a girl who was found at, like, 2 timbers. Well, that's new. A girl who's, like, found at the site of, like, a house that's been burned to ashes, and she's in, like, a police interrogation room. And they're trying to figure out, like, is she the one who started the fire? No one survived but her, so how did that happen? Stuff like that. And so, the whole time it's kind of splitting between this girl who's kind of in this, like, it's her perspective, so she has kind of this stream of consciousness sort of thing where, like, she'll go between being questioned by the police officers, but then, like, something about her surroundings, like the flowers she can see through the window, or the like, the color of the one man's mustache or something like that. It will relate her back to this memory of, like, fire and how it took over the house, and the whole time she has this kind of, like, metaphorical, like, seeing beauty in the flames, and, like, this kind of the mystery of, like, okay, did she do it or not? And, she's kind of speaking in riddles, and then at the end of it, the whole quote-unquote twist, if you will, of the fact is so that they think her name was Tia Matthews. And at the end of it, as the police officers thinks they figured it out, that she's the one who caused the fire, but there's still something they're missing, and they're not sure what it is. And it just goes to her perspective, and she's staring down at her table. Next thing you know, the whole room erupts into flames. She hears them screaming, but isn't thinking about it. She's just, like, drawing her name on the, in the ash on the table. And it's, Tia Matthews, to get rid of the last 3 letters. Tiamat, Mother of Dragons. That was the whole twist. And, the whole time she kept telling them it was a dragon that burned down the house, and they didn't believe it. They thought she did. I'm like, no, she's, you know, mother of dragons, so literally it was a dragon that burned down the house. You know, I like, would just see, like, different, like, dragon mythologies and just be like, I can incorporate that into a story somehow. So, like, all my stories had dragons in them, but ultimately they were all still trying, with the exception of, like, Ashes to Ashes, which is one that definitely went more on the strong fantasy side. I tried to all ground them very in reality, where the idea of, like, these are normal stories that a dragon happens to invade into it, or I loosely consider a dragon, but even then I was still kind of, these were like my masking stories, because I was trying to make myself sound normal, and make myself trying to sound like, see, I'm basing it in reality, I know what normal people live like, I can try and mimic normal people interactions, because that's the reason I was almost kind of scared to use humans sometimes, because I'm like, I don't really understand how people work. And I'm going to try and write them. Everyone's going to immediately tell I'm a fraud because I don't know how people work. These things that seem so so simple to everyone else, and I have no clue, you know. But Ashes to Ashes would be a fun one to revisit because that one would be interesting to expand upon. When I can get a little more poetic with my descriptions, I actually do find it a lot of fun to work with wordplay. That's actually a story I wrote rather, not necessarily that recently, maybe in the last year or two, but one I used, like, for all my, like, applications to try and get into grad school. Is based off of, like, I brought before, the characters I have in my campaign are, like, the black and white conductors. They, like, control time and space in a way. Their whole thing is, you know, they can go anywhere, essentially. They're the people that move people where they're meant to go. So it's kind of a little bit of time and space stuff, kind of a little Doctor Who-ish with their, you know, the train that can kind of go anywhere. Fun stuff like that. But, they, like, are these characters that are based off of, I've said before, at least their starting point, their appearances were based off the subway bosses in this game, in black and white. I briefly mentioned them while we were in Nabasta City a little bit earlier. But, like, the characters themselves kind of grew into their own thing as I like, you know, worked their lore more throughout the D&D campaign. And so one of these days I just felt like, try and write something from their perspective. Because the whole idea is that it kind of works the same way you have, like, a dreaded villain, like the trope dreaded villain. I actually just watched something on OSP about that. I thought it was a very interesting analysis. But the whole idea is that in order to make you, like, kind of keep something alien, you have to let the audience see it as little as possible, which was kind of my motive with these characters in our D&D campaign. Was that, well, the less the players see about them, the more mysterious they stay. Granted, this doesn't entirely work in practice because you could have people like my players who are like, I want these people to be mysterious and just pop in and out, and then they just kept following him. So I couldn't keep him as mysterious as I wanted him to be because I couldn't just have him just randomly just pop in and out Cheshire Cat style all the time. Like, you know, I did want to like keep him to a certain character, like behavior, like he's always going to act this way because of this, you know, sort of things. And that's the thing that was the idea originally with the, because originally I was just going to have one conductor, and then eventually I decided to have two for, like, plot reasons. For a character that, ironically, isn't even in our campaign anymore, so at this point, I could have just kept it as one conductor, and probably would have been a way easier story to write, but, yeah. I wanted there to be, a mystery behind him, so I made another one. And that's why they're black and white instead of originally it was just one conductor in, like, gray, but then I made him to black and white, because also black and white's fun to theme with. But so the whole idea is that, like, you know, they are two halves of one soul. So, like, but it's, like, kind of like if you put that into more, like, mechanical construct sense. So, like, they literally took one soul and split it in half. So there's, oops, I just whacked my microphone. They literally split it in half. So not everything, so each half has half of what a person would have. The way I looked at it was, like, imagine if you literally had, like, all your emotions, and split them. You know you're the only one who watches this channel, and I already told you all this stuff. You just keep forgetting it. I honestly I keep telling my group, I say so much. I'm I'm trying to tell a story and it makes me feel more passionate. But essentially, like, I tell my players, like, I say so many spoiler things on stream. It's a good thing none of you guys watch me, because otherwise you probably realize a lot of secrets way earlier, and I thought that was like a, hey, go watch my stream. And still no one watches it anyway, which is fine. We're all busy. I don't get it. I don't care, but it is funny that probably random people who watch me on the internet know more about my mysterious main plot characters than my actual group do, because I keep talking about them on stream. Anyway, so the point being is that, like, what if you literally split somebody in half? Like, literally, like, if you as a whole person have the ability to feel happiness, sorrow, anger, so on and so forth, as a whole person, you like, maybe you like strawberries, hate blueberries, sort of thing. Like, what if literally all those traits of a person were split into two halves? Like, that's the idea with the conductors, is that, like, one of them literally does not have the capacity to feel happiness because that's what is in the other half. And, like, one doesn't have the ability to feel sorrow because that's what's in the other half. One of them literally will always be impatient and rude because the other one got the politeness and patience half of it. But on the other hand, the other one doesn't have the ability to feel like, brave or be like a go-getter because that was what the other one has. Like, the idea is that they had that on their own, they are half a person. And so on their own, they are weaker that way because they're lacking, like, the necessary, like, checks and balances that, like, most people have naturally in, like, their minds. So, like, that's the biggest thing, though. Like, for instance, they kept running into the black conductor, who's the one that they know better in the campaign. And he always speaks in riddles, or at least he's always very long-winded. It takes him a while to get to say anything. Because the ability to, like, speak directly is something that his other half has, but he doesn't have. Or, like, for instance, like, he can never act directly because he's the defensive one. His job is to protect and guard. So attacking outright is not within his nature to do. Now, granted, I did actually write it in that, like, this is the way things are supposed to go. There is something that happened in the past before the campaign started. The players have brushed up against this thing once, but I don't think anyone realized it was important at the time. It was very early in the campaign, so I don't think anyone realized, but, like, there was a certain event that caused things to get weird, and it has to do with the fact that one of the conductors did something that goes against their nature, which has never happened before. It's essentially like, the whole idea of, like, AI gaining sentience sort of thing. It's like these two halves of something that are only supposed to act in these very particular ways. One of them defied their nature, acted in a way that they were not meant to, and that caused all of reality that was originally on one certain track forward to immediately derail and shift off, and now it's gone into a different reality that was originally mentioned, which is the one that the players are now existing in. Is that the original reality has already happened once before. It was on track to happen again. But one of the conductors did something that has never happened before, essentially like a glitch in the system, that caused reality to derail. Positive side, I mean, to be fair, the players did learn a lot of this lore in the last session, so even if they were watching right now, it wouldn't make a ton of difference, but, like, they did, figure out that, like, their world is essentially one big cycle that keeps going over and over again. And every choice that they've ever made at some point or another has already been done before. Essentially the idea of, like, there's not really any free will, if you want to look at it that way. It's a multiverse sort of thing, like, that's how every reality can, like, exist. And that, like, every time they're being like, I'm doing something new and different and reckless, the conductors are the ones in the background being like, oh yeah, you're doing that again. Alright, let me lead you to this junction now. This is where, they're essentially the ones moving fate around. But in this particular cycle, because of something one of them did earlier on, like, that hasn't been revealed yet, but something happened that caused essentially this originally predictable cycle is now, essentially, free-falling without brakes on, down another track that who knows where it ends up now. Which, on one hand, means that the original destined, future they were supposed to have, which would have ended, destructively, isn't going to happen. Or at least it's not going to happen the way it happened the first time. But it also means that, like, the stability that path offered will also not exist anymore. So now they're in a completely unknown reality of what could happen on this particular cycle. Could this change everything? Could everything come crashing down this time? It's more or less the plot of what the Loki TV show did. I mean, you got time travel, you might as well play with, multiple realities a little bit. Anyway, point being to this ramble is that the idea originally with the black and white conductor characters was the idea of, like, these two different people that, like, are strongest and most complete when they are with each other as they balance each other out. When they're apart, they start to get essentially, like, distracted, if you will. Like, their different respective strong traits level out when they're with each other, but when they are apart, those strong traits become stronger to the point where, like, they can start becoming too strong. Kind of like saying, like, too much of a good thing. If you become too passionate, it becomes reckless. If you become too sad, it becomes depression, sort of thing. Like, when they're apart for too long, things like that can start happening. Which is definitely a thing that has been happening. In addition to the fact that, like, they are meant to be outside observers. Like, neutral people that maintain a balance. Maintain an order. They, like, help keep reality on track. But, it's like the job, for instance, of the white conductor to actually go and act. The one who can go and change something. So, like, when, like, for instance, if there was a great disaster that needs to be averted, he'd be the one to go and avert it, because he's the one who's allowed to act and change and attack. The black conductor's job is to guard and defend and hold ground, and even to pull back when things have gone too far. So, if there's a major disaster, it would be the white conductor that has to fix it, but, in the canon of our campaign, the white conductor is indisposed. He can't act right now, which means it's only the black conductor who can act, but he's not supposed to. That's pushing against what he's not allowed to do. So, I don't know if anyone realized it, but, like, the more that he's helped the players has been hurting him more, because he's pushing against his own nature, and so it's literally, like, destroying him from the inside. So he needs that counterbalance. First off, is already an issue, but then also he's not being a neutral observer. He's actually helping them because they've essentially befriended him. So, like, he's not supposed to do that. Him not having impartial judgment anymore means that instead of following the nature that will keep him safe, he might do things that he's not meant to do and get himself in trouble. And these are characters that are like, yeah, they're holding up the cosmic order on their own shoulders. If one of them falls to a knee, the entire universe is falling with them. But, that'll be my fun thing to introduce at some point to them. Be like, hey guys, I bet you didn't realize this was a thing. Isn't it great? We're gonna forget Dragon Breath. I don't need Dragon Breath. I'll learn an ice move if I really need to deal with dragons. Crunch is a much better move. Okay, how far is Mr. Misty from leveling up? We're at 29. How many more fights do we have to do? Okay, handful more, but that's fine. Like, we have this one character in our campaign who's been, like, trying, like, to be fair, we actually had two characters that were trying, each of them were trying to befriend the white or the black conductor. Befriending the white conductor isn't as big of a problem. Granted, he doesn't have it in his nature to empathize with people, so he is kind of distant for that reason. Also because of, essentially the way that, like, he and his brother have been treated by, like, the passengers, which is to say, not necessarily very politely. He doesn't really like them as much anymore, because since it's his brother's job to, like, guard and protect the passengers, in spite of their, like, very reckless behavior and sometimes just total disregard for the rules, he doesn't really like the passengers anymore because it keeps getting his brother hurt. And he doesn't like that. Because that's the one thing each of them cares about, is maintaining the rules and maintaining their other half, since that is literally part of them. So, like, soul bond sort of thing. So he came to not really like the passengers because they kind of got really inconsiderate. and he doesn't have it in him to essentially empathize as to why they do that. He's just angry about the idea. He does have the capacity for anger, so he like is angry at the fact that they keep doing that. Well, you know, the black conductor on the other hand is patient and it does have the ability to like empathize with people, so he understands why, you know, different creatures and stuff like that, free will do different things, might act in like fear or something like that because they don't understand. Like, he's much more understanding of people. But so like the thing that is that like, so like we had one character trying to befriend the white conductor, which didn't go very well, largely because I don't think she, again, this could also be on me for just not being a great actor, and sometimes I just get weird with my dialogue. So I understand people just don't get it sometimes. I'm way better in writing than I am with speaking. But, like, she tried to befriend the white conductor, but I'm like, I don't think she ever realized what essentially she had to do in order to get his attention. Which, you know, like, being kind to him, beating around the bush, being dishonest, are, like, the biggest things that he does not like. Like, he likes getting to the point quickly. He likes direct questions. He likes action now. He likes bravery, like, he likes truth, stuff like that, things that are, like, things that are very, get up and go mentality, essentially. And unfortunately, the character who found him was one who was not like that. Her character was very much, let's not deal with that problem right now, and, lies of omission, and I don't want to die right now, so I'm going to run from battle. So, ironically, she was, like, the one character that he probably wouldn't have liked anyway, but just because of the way things went, they were the ones who ended up in the bond. And originally, I thought this was kind of interesting, just because I was like, oh, I wonder if she'll ever, like, you know, this will prompt character change, because these two characters are very different. And it didn't really go anywhere, ultimately, which is, you know, that's the way some storylines go. But the interesting one is that, we have another character, another player who is trying to befriend the black conductor, which again is an easier task because he's the one who is arguably on the more friendly side. He's more grim, but he's also like the one who does have the capacity to empathize with people and is more polite at the very least. So he could be the one who was befriended with. But again, it comes back to the things like, he's the one who's meant to be there to guard and defend and hold the line and maintain the rules. So whenever he's, like, driven to, like, act, or whenever he's, like, asked to do something that is outside of his normal boundaries of acting, it does tear him apart a little bit inside. But then again, if he's doing this, you know, he's also kind of been taught, like, you know, the idea of, like, having a friend. Kind of conflating this with the fact that he's missing half of himself right now. That is a big gaping hole. So at this point, it's kind of like, oh, the idea of a friend is someone who's close to you, who will help you. He's essentially trying to just deal with that and fill in that hole that he's missing by being like, okay, we are now friends. Maybe this will make me stop feeling so, like, empty inside. You know, essentially like it's like chasing a feeling. Or like an addiction even. And so he's willing to go and help her. However, every time he's doing that, especially when it's pulling him away from his work, it hurts him and it hurts his, like, schedule, it hurts his job, and it hurts the train. Every time that happens. Every time he goes and tries to help and act and do something directly when it's just not his job to do. But, you know, the longer he's without his other half, the more and more, like, fuzzy, essentially, his guidelines become, and the harder it is for him to remember exactly what he is and who he is and what he's supposed to do. Which is why the whole cosmic order is kind of going to crap, because the things that normally stabilize it are both getting very, very weak. For differing reasons. This is also why, like, later on the white conductor met a different character, who he then gave some of his power to, and this character was a very much go-getter sort of character, so he got the power a little faster because it's like, oh, well, you're speaking his language. Wants things done now. And that character was willing to do that, so he's like, okay, we can get along. But, it was it's interesting, because now they're heading into the finale where they just arrived back at their hometown, which is being assaulted by, like, 4 dragons right now. So, that's great. But they're gonna have to deal with that. I don't intend to have them fight that many dragons. It's more a matter of they're gonna have to sneak their way in because these dragons are, like, they're essentially doing like a siege. So they're trying to damage the city and it's like, you know, supports. They're not like, but if they get too hurt by like, you know, any sort of counterattack, they just leave, switch places with another dragon, and just continue the attack with the hope that it can, you know, wear down the defenses of the city. So the characters are, you know, as long as they're vaguely smart about it, like, I'll let them just sneak in. The whole idea is that it's going to come to a whole head with this whole dragon issue they have. And it'll just be interesting if they try and ask for any help from outside sources to deal with this dragon issue. Because that could cause some things to happen. Again, why have I rambled this long about this thing? Well, one is that I got ADHD and I have trouble focusing as soon as we get past 2. Although, my sister also told me that I might have been taking my Adderall incorrectly, so I'm gonna have to talk to the doctor about that one. Like, I get a lot less focused somewhere after 2. But the whole point being is that I like these 2 characters I have. So I wrote a story from their perspective. It's just a little moment of time to assign. It was essentially I had played the Black Conductor as like a player character for one session. And I wanted to kind of write about that experience. Usually when I do a player character, I like to write a story about them to kind of characterize them in my head and lock in the memories from that session. I did this a lot with another character. I played a snake lady, essentially, named Jasper. Wrote a lot of stories to her. She was fun to do. But I wanted to write something with the conductor, so I wrote this little story that's essentially from the perspective of the Black Conductor, but it's essentially him and the White Conductor interacting and just talking with each other. And kind of, it's literally there just to kind of, sometimes I write stories, not even with like a plot in mind. I had like a conversation in my head. I would constantly imagine dialogue and character interactions, and I'd be like, I want this interaction to happen in a story. And sometimes I would just write that interaction, and sometimes I would write a story to go around the interaction to make it make more sense. But sometimes I just like writing dialogue. So essentially this was that. I had this interaction I wanted to happen between the 2 conductors. And I did it. I think it's called the sound of shoes, seconds, and separation. Because, you know, I don't know, I was feeling really special with that title at the time. But the whole idea is that, you know, like, it's from the mind of the Black Conductor. And the idea is that these characters are very time-themed and very train-themed. So it means that, like, they relate everything in their world to, like, time, like clocks, or to, like, things like trains. So, like, the beginning of the story is literally just the Black Conductor going and doing the rounds, so to speak. And, passing out tickets, making sure passengers get to the train station, and also, you know, through essentially his own magic, he's able to, like, literally move between seconds, like, cross worlds in an instant. And, you know, he's finishing up his rounds, and he's just, like, a lot of it's just him musing about his nature as being an incomplete being, yet at the same time, he's, like, his job could be run by an automaton. It could be run by something that has no free thought, something that is just a machine. And so a lot of it is him just, in the very beginning, is him just musing about why their boss is something called the Railmaster. And it's just him musing about, like, why did the Railmaster allow us to have free thought? Why did he make it so that it is in my nature to be contemplative? It's in my nature to think about things. My other half, my brother, doesn't think about things. He just acts, and it happens, and it works. But it's my job to stop and think about things. And I wonder why I was made that way. It's like, I always find it fun to do a sort of character study like that with characters you enjoy. Because then you can kind of, like, go and do that, like, yourself. You as a writer are able to be, like, through the character and the character study, you're able to go and be like, why do they act this way? I wonder. So that's kind of, that was kind of what I was doing. I was kind of just being like, oh, we're out of acrobatics? Alright, well then we're gonna have to switch over to Celestia. But, and so the beginning half of the story is literally him just noting on that. And then it was like, part of it, the reason where the title comes from, is that, like, they always, like, do everything in, like, a syncopated rhythm. Like, that's at the same speed at which a clock, like, second hand would move. So, like, he's like just musing about how sounds sound interesting, how even when he walks it has such a sharp staccato sound, how even when he's trying to, he always steps in time to the second hand, like how his steps, his shoes on a stone road sound a lot like the ticking of a clock, sounds a lot like the rails of like a train going across the rails. Like, it's a lot of that sort of thing. That's why it's in, but all through it all, he, like, you know, is thinking about it, he's doing his work, he's feeling orderly, but the whole time he has this kind of, like, itching, nagging feeling because he's apart from his other half, and until he's together again, they don't feel calm. They don't feel, like, content. So the whole time he's just thinking and musing, and the reason his thoughts drift so much is because he's apart from his, like, state of, his other half, his sense of completion, his sense of wholeness. And it's like, that's the reason I made their relation a little bit more, because I originally did consider the idea of it being of a more, like, a girl and a boy for, like, conductors, to have, like, maybe some sort of, like, romantic thing going on. But I decided to go more familial love, because that's the whole idea, is that they're literally, I think, in my personal experience at least, that's the strongest kind of love I've ever felt in my life, is, like, familial love. So, like, the idea of just being there for someone all the time, no matter what, like, you know, you always love your family, is kind of something that, not everyone's that way, but the way I feel. And so, like, that was the whole idea with that character, is that, like, the theme is that, like, he's like, just noticing, maybe I'm just, I don't know, maybe I'm just autistic projecting when I'm writing these characters, but, like, the whole idea is, like, he's taking note of every little thing that happens, and then that thought leads to something else, which ultimately leads him back to questioning his existence and why he's doing things, and, you know, why was he given the ability to think in the first place, and stuff like that. But then it tends to loop back around till, you know, like, I have to get done, I'm done with the shift, I'm going to go see my brother, and then I feel more complete when we're together, and then the two of them just share lunch together. It's like a kind of very mundane thing, and they talk about their different shifts and things that have been going on. It was also kind of a chance to, I know, let me keep going, dude. It was also kind of a chance to go and be, like, characterize the white conductor a little more, who I haven't used as much in my campaign. And that's the thing, is, like, I was playing with their conversation. Originally, I wrote the story without, like, any pronouns, just referring to, like, the one in black, the one in white, stuff like that. And the whole idea was that I write this down, and then, like, trying to play with dialogue. So, like I said, the black conductor always would talk in long-winded sentences, so the idea is, like, anytime he had to say something, even if it was just, like, simple yes or no, I always try to make him say, like, at least 4 more words than he absolutely needed to, because he's long-winded. But then, like, the white conductor, I always had like, speak in short, declarative sentences. Sometimes he wouldn't even speak in full sentences if he was really worked up. But, like, the idea is that, like, the words don't come as fast as he wants them to. The difference I made between them is that one of them, they're both essentially, like, forms of fuel, like an engine. But the difference is, like, the black conductor is like a smoldering fire. It burns for a long time, but it doesn't burn very fast. While the white conductor is like a bolt of lightning. It strikes very fast, it's extremely powerful, but then it's gone in an instant. And then it has to build up again over, you know. Again, lots of inspiration coming from the black and white video games with their respective legendaries. Black and white being, you know, Reshiram, the fire type, and then, you know, Zekrom, the electric type. Like, pulling inspiration from all different sort of things. Anything can be a deep metaphor if you think hard enough about it. But so, like, the whole reason is that essentially I had this very mundane conversation between these two characters, which is about them just discussing their jobs, kind of showing the differences in their personalities, and then, you know, them just having lunch together. And the idea is that I wanted to use, like, saying, like, their names as little as possible. I wanted their story to be told in kind of almost a distant, like, a distant sort of, oh yeah, I guess it is. I can turn my lights on in a second. I'll finish this battle, and then I'll turn the lights on. But, they had, I wanted to essentially, sometimes I'll try and challenge myself to write in a certain way. So in this case, I tried to describe, like, I didn't describe things, I described things in, like, half segments. So instead of saying, like, he walked down the corridor, I might describe, like, what the sound of his shoes made. Like, what the air tasted like. Like, you know, catching his reflection in a puddle. Like, instead of directly saying what was happening, I wanted to do it in a way that was more like, you know... I wanted to do it in more of a way that was very, like, stream of thought consciousness. I'm going to turn my backlights in while they're taking their turn here. You'll still be able to see me, just I'll be behind. Oh, well. Good job, Celestia, for not dying from that. That could have been really bad. I forgot these things had crunch. Well, either way, Mr. Misty is level 30, so we are ready to go and fight the gym now. Sorry, forgot to move my mic back in the place where it is. Now I got my lights behind me, so it's more aesthetic themed. Anyway, so the whole idea with this like story was that I wanted to write like essentially a sort of mundane thing, but do it from a very kind of almost alien point of view. And the idea was I was trying to essentially like make it very obvious in the dialogue who was speaking, but like not saying who was speaking, and give again a lot of descriptions. Like there was a lot of descriptions of like black gloves moving along like a piece of silverware, or like the muffled sound of shoes moving from, you know, like tile to carpet, and like things that were very like sensory sort of things. And you know, I thought it was pretty cool. I then sent it to some friends to read it, and then realized it didn't quite work as an experiment because some of them were confused on what was happening. And I'm like, okay, you take a moment to like, you know, nurse your pride a little bit and be like, it's okay, it's just natural criticism. They didn't say it sucked, even though your brain's interpreting it that way right now. But I went back in and wrote it again. I added in a couple more descriptors. I made it a little bit more obvious, and that like I had them refer to each other as like, you know, because the idea is that the conductors, that's their name. More like it's their title. They don't get a name until they finish their shift, and then they can take on one for themselves when they become actual people. Right now they're kind of like half people. But like the idea is that like they refer to themselves as conductors, but like people from the outside might refer to them as the conductor in black or the conductor in white, because that's the only way to tell them apart is their different uniforms. But they wouldn't refer to each other as that way, so the way I like had them refer to each other was like, you know, my other half, my twin, you know, the one in black, the one in white, you know. I did that to try and make it a little bit more clear about who I was talking to in any given moment. And, okay, I think we're ready to go and face the gym now. So I'm going to actually head in that direction. She's down there. Forgot about that. I'm going to see how we can do against Clay here. Oh. Well. That's interesting. Huh. Forgot about this part. I may not talk pretty, but at least I'm an honest man. There are like 3 accents that you can write. Accents are very hard to write. I know this from experience. Accents can be very difficult to get across in writing, which is why usually, like, you know, you like to have voice acting if you can. But like, there are like 3 different accents that you can like write, and it's like Scottish, country, and like German, or like the 3 accents you can pretty strongly write. Every other accent you have to be like, just trust me, he talks British, you know? Or you have to like really study a dialect in order to tell like how you can write out that they say words differently. The Minor King, nice. Yeah, I also like the fact that he's like, okay, let me turn him over. I'm like, well, it's not too bad, because we're the ones who went through all the effort to capture them in the first place. The fact that we're not allowed to challenge Clay until we go and find Team Plasma, and then we beat them up, and then he comes and rests them, and then we come over to his gym, and he lets them go. I'm like, well, it's fine. It's not like we spent hours trying to do that. We nearly froze our butts off in that cold storage. It's fine. Yeah, whatever, dude. Yeah, what gave you that impression, dude? Was it like the eye patch, the giant ornate robe? Yeah. Now Sharon's off to go do his grinding, but we already did that, so we're ready to go. Let me switch my Pokemon around too. So we're gonna put Mr. Misty for the front. I'm gonna put the EXP share back on Celestia. We're gonna give Mr. Misty the Never Melt Ice we found to power up his ice moves. Everyone else should be pretty good. Hamilton has the expert belt on right now. Should make his moves more powerful. And Emmett has nothing, so his acrobatics is powerful. That's my dog's barking, if you can hear that. You're the guys who can give me water, right? Nice. I like he's like, ground types aren't good against water types. Makes you wonder why he's living next to water. I'm like, yeah, interesting thing. Yeah, sorry it's really dark right now. I probably should... Give me a second. Let me turn one of my box lights on. So I'm a little bit more lit up over here. Alrighty. I'm gonna keep whacking my mic. Sorry about that. Alright, I'm gonna stop talking for a little bit, let my voice rest, and also kind of lock in for these battles. Don't need any deaths. Critical hit on the first attack? Are you kidding me? His avalanche is double powered when he takes damage. I'm gonna have to go out and heal again. Alright, well. I'm back out to heal then, I guess. Well, as long as I'm healing, I might as well mention. So the whole reason I brought up the whole stories with the black and white conductors and this whole thing I wrote, you know, the sound of shoes, seconds, and separation was like, it was one of those stories that I just did as kind of like a character study sort of thing. And so I'm like, I'm good at those stories. I have issues with ones that have like actual like plot stuff. So I'm like, it'd be nice to kind of try and write another story with them. For maybe this class. The problem is, like, I just don't know what sort of story I would do with them, because the whole idea is that, like, you know, the more distant they are from the audience, the more mysterious they seem. The more I describe them, the less mysterious they seem. So I'm kind of trying to figure out a way that I could potentially use these characters, you know, not have to reinvent the wheel here, but, you know, still kind of have fun with them, so to speak. Just not sure how to do that yet. Spaghetti or nachos? Why nachos? Johnny's? Well, obviously I love Johnny's. They got a very good penne alla vodka. And a pretty good fettuccine too. They also have some pretty good pizza and subs. My tummy always hurts, so, you know. Right now, I'm not sure if that's from the sickness, from the anxiety, or from being a woman, so. I am always in pain. Reminds me. Well, I told you, I was like, nachos sound good or Johnny's be fine. Future sight. Flatter, feint attack. Flash off. Well, we don't need feint attack. I forget you can go on these little platforms. We fight with our Pokemon and I face my real feelings. I'm like, you sound like you're really going through it, dude. Nice. I remember I ran a set once that was an Alchemy that had acid armor. And they can actually be a pretty bulky Pokemon when you try. You put that and then like G-Max and then like G-Max Finale, I believe is what it's called. It's that heals itself. And then I can also use Decorate to make its allies powerful. I like Alchemy a lot. It has some cool moves. All these miners, then we have the one guy in a suit. Love it. Remember my Sandile had Intimidate before she died, tragically. Okay. I'm gonna see if Emmett can take down Palpatol with an acrobatics. Palpatol is gonna be the biggest issue I have with it, because that's something I would really love to have a grass type for. Unfortunately, I do not. Alright. Very good. Mr. Misty back in. And a number Intimidate, which is fine. Let's see where this one goes. Okay, which takes us down to here. Alright, well that kinda hurt. And we're gonna have to go back and save again. I'm gonna guess this is the one that takes me down to clay. I like that you literally go so deep that you hit, like, fossils. Alright, well, unfortunately we're gonna have to go back up and heal. My dude took some damage there. So we need to go heal my Vanillite up. Also, let me check something real fast. Seeing if Gotha or Vanillite learn anything in the next few levels. Oh, nothing too major, I guess. Let's go heal then. I think we should be fine. I'm gonna go and do I'm gonna do a few more wild battles or something I'm gonna do before we going to is that an Audino I see? Yes it is, perfect. It's just what I needed. You guys give so much experience. And this one has a berry, apparently. Male Audino tries to attract male Vanillite. Unfortunate. Okay, how much more do you need? Probably about 2 more battles, which is fine. You just want to try and get Celestia to level 32, because I believe she's going to evolve at that point. It'd be nice to go in with a Gotharita instead of a Gothita, just in case. I don't think she's going to have to fight, but on the off chance she does have to fight, it'd be better to be in her second stage than I'll be in her first stage, because I'll give her a little bit more bulk. So yeah, sorry, I'm going to be doing grinding just a little bit though. And we're going to go fight the gym later, and that'll probably be the end of the stream for tonight. Depending on what state my team is in. I do feel like I'm in a solid position to face Clay. Namely, Hamilton did evolve, so he might be able to, give us some extra help at the very least, just brute forcing it. At the very least, I'm going to have him face Clay's Excadrill, because he should be able to get that steel weakness. I don't know what we're going to do about that Palpitoad. Probably going to have to maybe have Emmett take it. Come to think of it, when does Archon even evolve? Why you take it like a champ, bro? I could also potentially set up a future scythe with Celestia. Because while she's not effective against Palpitoad, she also isn't weak to anything he has. Like, the biggest danger with having Emmett face Palpitoad is that he is weak to water. Which could be a dangerous thing to do. So maybe I'll evolve Celestia, have her try and face Palpitoad. And then if she gets into any real trouble, we'll switch out someone else. Hopefully he'll just set up Aqua Ring or something, but... There we go, Celestia is evolving. Good job surviving this long, girl. Nice. Now you're a real Lolita girl. Now you really actually do look like, you are really starting to look like Celestia. Nice. Alright, let's go fight Clay. I think we're in the goodest state as we're ever going to be. Heal up real fast and then let's go fight. And fingers crossed, no one dies. The only thing that I do not care for as much is that, like, when you leave a gym, you have to go do the whole puzzle again. Which is a little annoying, because it just is a little bit of a time waster. I think once you've, like, fought all the people, you should, like, not have to do it again. There should be, like, a quick travel way to get to the gym leader. But, you know, whatever. It's not really that big of a deal. The only one that's annoying is, like, the one that I remember most distinctly is, like, the puzzle in Snow Point City with, that has those like, ice slides and like, snowballs you have to knock apart in order to find Candace. That is definitely an annoying puzzle. It's not necessarily hard, it just can take a while if you're not good at those sort of sliding puzzles. Okay, save here. Say your last goodbyes to any of these Pokemon, as someone might die here. We'll find it out. Alright, Mr. Misty. Fingers crossed. Pretty sure he starts with his Crocodile. I mean, a Crocodile, Krokorok. So we're gonna try, I think we're gonna try, depending on if it has Intimidate. If it has Intimidate, we're gonna go for Icy Wind. If it doesn't have Intimidate, we're gonna go for Avalanche. And try and get that double hit. At the very least, Icy Wind will slow it down. Palpitoad will have Celestia try and take on, maybe set up a future sight, and then go Psyshock or Psybeam. And then have Hamilton take on his Excadrill. And then have Emmett help where needed, if needed. I mean, you should have taken a shine to me. I caught your criminals for you. I like how he's such an American character. Give me a second, I gotta respond to my mom. I wasn't watching that. He didn't have intimidate, did he? I didn't watch. Did he lower my? Did he lower my attack? I wasn't paying attention. Let me just look it up real fast. At this point, I've been looking at the other gym leaders too. I might as well look up Clay. No, it has Moxie. Okay, that's fine. Okay. I'm going to go Icy Wind. Okay, that's probably a good idea because Swagger can be a problem. I hit myself. And of course he's gonna hit himself. And we're gonna switch to Hamilton on this one because I don't want him. He already did so much damage to himself. That's fine. I'm only gonna be in one turn to hit you anyway. Awesome. Okay. You're up, Celestia. Best of luck, girl. I'm trying to set up a future site, and then let me look. Is Palpitoad's physical defense or special defense higher? His special defense and defense are about the same, so. But anyway. That, of course, is another quick hit. We're gonna do Flatter to see if that helps it, hurt itself. So we can take a turn to heal her. Let's see, she's down, so we need something that heals about 60. That'll do. Hopefully it will hit itself and we can get a turn to heal up. Awesome. Honestly, going to set up another future site. Just in case. I'm honestly going to heal and just let that future site take it out. Alright, good job, Celestia. Alright. Hamilton, you're up. You got this, bro. And we're just gonna heat crash into him. That's our strongest move. Hamilton's pretty heavy. Should at very least be significantly heavier than Excadrill. Nice. One hit KO. That's my boy. That's my little flaming pig. Good job, bro. Okay. Little tricky in the beginning with Mr. Misty hitting himself, but I have an imposing battle style because I've been hardened by 12 losses at this point. I'm quite imposing for a 15-year-old or however old I am. Yay, we got a new badge. Ta-da! New badge. Okay, he's gonna give me a TM, but I have to go in front of a cave at Route 6. So we're gonna do that, actually. I'm gonna heal first. Then we're gonna go in front of the cave and find Route 6. I'm gonna put, I'm gonna put, Mr. Misty back on the EXP share. Get him, some more levels. Hopefully get him to level up. I'm gonna put Emmett back in the front, since he's also not evolved yet. Celestia in the front. I'm gonna give her... I don't really have anything that's really that useful to her right now. Guess we can just give her the smoke ball. Never hurts to have something that lets you run away from battle. Alright, Clay said to meet him on Route 6. I don't know where... in front of a cave. I don't know exactly where that was, but we're gonna save real fast and go check it out. I think I will catch, like, the encounter for the next route. That'll be a good place to stop for tonight. Pretty sure Route 6 is this way. Yeah. I figured I was gonna get jumped by my rival on the way out, that's why I switched Emmett back to the front. Like, I haven't fought Bianca in a while, I bet she's gonna jump me. Though she's far easier to take care of with my current team composition because her starter is weak to mine. So she is far easier to deal with than Sharon. Sharon's biggest issue is his Duat. I don't have an easy counter for it right now. However, her team can pretty much be entirely swept by Hamilton, so... Not as worried about her. Hey Bianca, look, my starter's fully evolved. Yes, I am showing him off right now, because I'm very proud of him. Not dying up until this point in the run. Even though he definitely could have died against Elisa that one time. Okay, Panpour. Honestly, Emmett could probably take that. His Acrobax is very strong. We do want him to get a couple more levels, because we would like him to evolve as well. Nice. We're gonna keep you in, because we can use your new crunch on this guy. But forewarned you to dig. I like it. My Pokemon can take that? Well, sure, probably. Like, yep, girl, I feel that. You go into a battle and be like, oh, he can probably take the hit, and how many times have I been wrong? Use as many Hyper Potions as you want. I have many crunches for you. And I'd rather her use up her Hyper Potions on this one. Lusharn is honestly the only thing I could potentially struggle against with her because I don't have a Dark type. But I do have a good amount of Dark-type moves, so I'm not too worried in that regards. Nice to see that your Snivy finally evolved, though. Good for you. Good job, Emmett. It's okay, girl. I just did a butt ton of training, so... Oh, cool. And you got the HMO to fly. Which So, if we need to fly, we might pull, Haelia back into our team purely to use as a fly, slave. HM slave, essentially. Because I'm not putting that on Emmett. He doesn't need that move. Namely because HMs you can't forget. If HM was a move you could forget, I wouldn't care as much, but... Emmett, I want to just be an attacker. I don't want him to have any trash moves. Unless I happen to find another flying type along the way that could use it instead, but I'm like... I'll probably just put Haelia in the back of the team and just never use her in battle, purely use her as a... HM slave. Okay, is this Route 6? Okay, good. So... Clay told us to go to the tunnel, he said. Or cave. He said there was a cave on Route 6 he wants us to find. Is it this way? No, that's where I went before. Alright, I guess it's this. I guess it's forward. So we'll figure out whatever it is that they wanted us to find. Alright, let's see what we got here. Oh, it's a Swadloon. Well, we could catch that. Again, I'm afraid you would kill whatever I hit with, so... Let's try Celestia, see if she can wear it down. In fact, let's just go with the future sight attack. Let's go flatter. We'll switch her out. So she can't take any more bug bites like that. Oh, that doesn't catch. I don't know what will. Swadloon is a bug type, so that should be... good for this encounter. Awesome. Cool, now we have a grass type. What shall we name you? You're like a little tailor, and you're female. Let's see. Funny enough, this is a scenario where I would ask Malin for a name because she had to leave Annie herself, but... let's see, what else can I... let's see. Bug, grass type. What would be something... good for, let's see. Female. It's a bug type, it's a grass type. What should I name you? I'm lost for names. See if I can find anything that sounds fashionable. I also need to look at when Swadloon evolves anyway, because I want to get her on the EXP share so she can evolve to her final state as soon as possible. Okay, let's see. What ability she has too? Oh, they actually evolve into Leaveney through high friendship. I didn't realize Leaveney was a happiness-based evolution. I totally thought that was a level up one. First it takes. Okay. Sorry, they're watching a movie downstairs. I'm gonna close my door so I can't hear that as much. Just give me a second. Alright. Like, the only thing I can think about, like, fashion-based, or, like, Junko from, like, but she's not, like, she's not a good character. Or at least a character I like. No idea. Actually, how about... I have to see if that's 2 R's or 1. Yeah, I'm gonna name her Oboro. So, Oboro was in Fire Emblem Fates. She is the retainer to Prince Takumi, the second Prince of Hoshido. But most notably, she wants to be a fashion designer because her parents were merchants who sold, who were tailors. And the thing is that, like, you know, they died in an attack by Nor. That's why she really hates the Norians, which is the other country there. But most notably, like, you know, she's also, like, you know, has a great sense for fashion herself, but she's also incredibly ruthless with the spear. So I'm like, that actually will make sense for this case, you know? Too bad I don't got a Stooth Bell. Do I have anything interesting I can give her? What moves does she know actually right now? I didn't even check her stats. Okay, let's see. Docile, that's not bad. Leaf Guard, that's not the worst. Razor Leaf, Bug Bite, String Shot, Protect. Those actually aren't too bad. Alright then. And she's what? Level 23? Alright. Sorry, Mr. Misty, we're gonna put the XP share on her. Because I really could use a grass type. Which means you get to hold the Never Melt Ice again. I only gave him the XP share just because he was the lowest leveled in the team, but he'll be fine. Especially if I'm heading to a cave, he can level up that way. Or if Emmett evolves, then I'll put him to the front of the party. Alright, let's go find this cave that Clay was telling us about. Nope, so that's not the way. We're just gonna duck and dodge around all these trainers. I just want to see what they wanted me to do. It was a deerling. I want to get a deerling at some point. I've always wanted to raise one. Oh well, we ran into a Swadloon, so we have a Swadloon. That's literally the name of the game with this run, is that every time I go on a route, I always want the second encounter. The first encounter is always the one I'm like, It's the second encounter I want. That was how it was with Jamie Davis. That was how it was when I was in Pinwheel Forest. That's how, like, every route so far. I wanted a Lillipup for the longest time. Instead, I found, like, Pat Rats and stuff. Fortunately, I cannot catch you, sweetheart. Maybe I'll see you on a different route. I would have loved a deerling. I want to raise one at some point. I just have never gotten really the chance to. Okay, I'm trying to dodge every, like, trainer encounter so I can go to where Clay is pretty fast, but unfortunately, I didn't know that guy was going to move. That's fine. He is deerling anyway, which Emmett can take care of. Right. If I find deerling on another route, I would be happy to get deerling. But I'm also happy to get Swadloon as well, because that's still grass type. I do need a grass type for my team to deal with water types. So I'm actually entirely fine with a Swadloon. Cool, random hyper potion. Let's go in here and see if there's anyone who wants to talk to me. I unfortunately do not have a deerling. If I did, I would happily show you, but I do not have one. Okay, let's go get this Pokeball. Nice. She turned immediately around. Fine. I'm trying to do the trainers on the return route, not on the way there. I just want to go see what's happening with Clay at the tunnel. So he can give me my TM. Fine. Oh, that must be a fungus. I guess this is also the route where you can find fungus. It's fine, Emma can deal with those as well. And another deerling. Actually, I guess it's kind of rare that we ran into the Swadloon because we're running into a lot of deerling now. So it's actually kind of interesting that we didn't get deerling as the first encounter, because evidently that's the Pokemon that's more common in this area, so I guess it's kind of interesting that we ran into a Swadloon first. Which is fine by me. You know. Grass type's a grass type. And there's certainly nothing wrong with Levanny. So maybe I can get her that far. Okay, where's this cave I'm looking for? Oh cool, a shiny stone. Yeah, I can heal here, that's also good to know. I also have to ring the bell for my Cottonea. She also died. It was a sad, sad day. I'm just gonna run into as many encounters as possible on the way here. I am kind of glad I got Swadloon rather than a Fungus, because Amoonguss is another one of those defensive Pokemon that I'm like, I really need some more attackers in my team, like physical attackers. I wouldn't mind special attackers, but technically I already have those in my team, they just don't have great natures. Oh, there's a Carablast. Again, one of those Pokemon that I just frequently forget even exists. Okay, we have the cave yet? I just want to see what it... Oh. Charged Stone Cave. We're not going to go into Charged Stone Cave right now because I know that's a newest story event, but... Bulldoze. I do like the Bulldoze TM. So now we're gonna go back and fight those other trainers. First off though, I want to see if anyone can learn Bulldoze in my team right now. Let's just try and check on all my TMs and see. The highest special defense right now on my team. Alright, we got Dig, Rock Tomb. Come to think of it, can we teach this, damn it? Teach this to you instead of Ancient Power, because you honestly don't need Ancient Power when you're a physical attacker. Yeah, your attack's way higher than your... Sorry. Attack's way higher than your... Ancient Power is a physical one, so... Let's switch that out for a physical move, so... If you really need to use a rock type move. I would like to get Rock Slide eventually, but Rock Tomb will be fine for now. Do we have anything that can learn? I don't think we have anyone who can learn Volt Switch yet. Nope. Guess we could teach Struggle Bug to Boro. That'd be better than String Shot. It's not a very powerful move, but you never know. Oh, these two actually can learn that? That's interesting. Well, you have good special tech anyway, so we're not going to teach it to you. And I'm not going to teach it to you just yet. Don't really need it at the moment, but who can learn Bulldoze? So, because Rollout gives me advantage against other fire types and flying types. Ground gives me advantage against electric types, the fire types, and rock types and steel types. The rock and steel I already have covered with fighting. Okay, let me double check the typings on this. Make sure I'm not forgetting any of my type weaknesses here. Okay, so rock is effective against flying, bug, fire, and ice. Okay. Bug and ice I already have by fire. Flying will give me something in other fire types. Ground. Come on. Load. So many ads sometimes. Gives me poison, rock, fire, electric, and steel. Steel and I already have by fire. I already have rock with fighting type. This will give me against electric, fire, and poison. The biggest reason I have Rollout on him right now is that I have to deal with like an Emolga or something. I'm going downstairs for jewelry. You should come. I will once I'm done with this thing. I guess I don't really need a ground type move right now. I also sound more congested than earlier. Oh, well, sorry about that. I'm not going to teach Bulldoze yet. I'll hold on to it. I might need it later. Well, I'll learn it when I go into the cave. How about that? Meanwhile, we're going to backtrack a little. I'm just going to go to the beginning of the route, and I'll go and I'll save there, and then we'll take on fighting the route when we get there. Oh, I thought there was going to be an item at the end of this grass. I was wrong. That's fine, we'll go and we'll fight, and then there's a shortcut to get back to the beginning of the route. We'll go and fight those Pokemon when we get there. I'll leave those trainer battles and such to my next play. We'll also leave Chargestone Cave to the next stream, in which I will hopefully be able to get myself an electric type, which would be really nice. Yeah, we're not going to find Cobalion right now, because I definitely do not have Surf. We duck, dodge, and weave around all these different trainers. one more deerling just for the road, I guess. Okay, we're gonna go to the Pokemon Center. We're gonna heal, then I will save at the beginning of the route. To be fair, when I said I was gonna go and find Clay at the cave, I thought the cave was way closer. I did not realize he was referring to Chargestone Cave. I don't know why I didn't think of that, because it's really only the only really big notable cave in the game, but that obviously is gonna be a big thing later. Let's save here, and then we're gonna call it a day for real this time. Okay. So I thought some good progress was gained today. Again, the biggest point of today was grinding, get some levels up, defeat the gym leader, which we did without any deaths, which was nice. So we have world count. We got Emmett still is doing good. Celestia evolved, which was nice. Mr. Misty leveled up. Hamilton evolved. Very proud of him. And then we got Oboro as our new addition to the team. We'll work on getting her up there. I don't know how to... I'll have to look up and be like... I know how to get like happiness high in like certain regions like Johto, or even in games that have like the Pokemon feature, like you can get happiness up really high. I don't actually know how you get happiness up high. And Mallie, did you know that Leavanny was a happiness-based evolution? I totally did not know that. I thought it was a level-based evolution. I didn't realize it was a happiness-based evolution. So I'm gonna have to look up like where you can get like massages or, you know, Soothe Bell or something, because I actually did not know that Leavanny was a happiness-based evolution. So I'm gonna have to go find ways to make this Swadloon really love me. In that regards, it might have been easier if I had gone and mine loved me, because I do that more than battling in the... Well, if I had caught a Swaddle in Pinwheel Forest, it probably would have loved me by this point in the game, because I would have gotten this far with it, but since I just want them in the front of the party, yeah, I'll do that when I'm in the next area, because she'll be better for that. But right now she's level 24, and everything else, my team is level 30, so I'm going to wait until she gets like level 30 before I'm going to put her in the front. Especially because, you know, Leavanny, as cool as it is, has a lot of 4-time weaknesses. So, we'll be keeping her in the back until she's a little higher leveled. So the only ones we have left now is like Oboro. Obviously we'll work on her, but like Mr. Misty needs to level up some more. I think he evolves at level 37, so he's also going to be in the back. No Poffins or anything, so I think it's just massages and Soothe Bill. Yeah. I'll look it up when I come back and do this the next day. But I need to evolve him, and I don't remember when Archon levels up evolves, but soonish, I'm sure. Once he evolves, I'll move Mr. Misty to the front, and then I'll have Oboro stay in the back. I also like just like the variety of Pokeballs we have right now. He's in a Pokeball, she's in a Premier Ball, he's in a Pokeball. Okay, maybe it's not as much. I thought I caught Mr. Misty in an Ultra Ball. Apparently I didn't. Alright, well, that's good enough. And as I'm coughing, and Mallory says I sound very congested, so it means it's time for me to get finished up here. Anyway, so, for week going forward, we have our con this weekend, so obviously I'm going to be working a lot on that. So, high probability of another crochet stream somewhere throughout the week. Tuesday, as usual, I will try and make it for a Nuzlocke stream. Because, you know, that's my video game day. Maybe crochet stream tomorrow, or potentially on Wednesday. Probably not Friday, though. I'll try and have... Yeah, I'll try and do another Nuzlocke stream if I can on Tuesday. If not, it might just be a crochet stream. Which is just the way it is. I'm busy right now, and we got a market coming up, so gotta get that stuff rolling and going. So, thank you anyone who was here, who hung out with me, who chatted with me, who lurked in the background. I also appreciate all the lurkers. I can't see you, but I'm glad if I'm in the background just ranting about whatever stuff and being the information in the back of your essay or work or whatever else you're doing with your life right now. So, yeah. Good run. Good run. We got a new, gym badge, and, no one died. Yet. I always hate saying that, because I always feel like I'm gonna jinx myself, but, like, no one died yet. Anyway, so, yeah. Actually, sorry, give me a second. I almost forgot. Shinies. Is shiny stone why I need to evolve Cottony? Sorry, I was just double checking what. Yeah, a leaf stone, a moonstone, a firestone, and a shiny stone. Okay. Sorry. I was trying to remember which ones were evolving by that. Anyways, thanks, and I guess I'll see you guys a bit later. I can find where my mouse is. Ignore the